Hello everyone, this is Joe Hendy, the Android Authority App Guy. Do you like RPGs? I know I do, and after the intro we got a list of the best RPGs you can find on Android. We'll start out with one of the most useful apps on the list. Of course, we're talking about emulators. While they aren't technically RPGs, a lot of great RPGs were released on older consoles that can be found and played again with the use of emulators. In some cases, it may be preferable, as some emulators have features like increasing game speed, which really helps with tedious tasks like level grinding. The three emulators that are best for gaming are SNES, PlayStation, and Game Boy Advanced emulators. Why? Because they had some of the best RPGs of all time. All the best Final Fantasies, including 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, Chrono Trigger, Mario RPG, Lunar, Legend of Dragoon, Star Ocean, Earthbound, Xenogears, Pokemon, and dozens more would be at your fingertips. Beware though, as PlayStation games can be pretty large, so if you're crunched for space, you may only be able to have one game on at a time. It's also worth noting that this is the only way to get a Zelda or Pokemon experience on mobile, since neither franchise has yet to release any real offerings for Android. If you're wondering if Chrono Trigger is worth playing, here's some quick facts. IGN puts Chrono Trigger as the number 2 best RPG ever made. Game Informer puts it as the 15th best game ever created. Both of those lists include modern RPG titles. Why is it ranked so high? Because Chrono Trigger is one of the most iconic, popular, and original RPG titles of all time. You can get Chrono Trigger for Android, and you can also get it for an emulator. There are caveats to each one. The emulator version doesn't have any of the newer content from more recent releases. Meanwhile, the Android version has issues of its own when it comes to controls, as they require a break-in period before you feel comfortable with them. Regardless, this timeless classic features a robust storyline with over a dozen different endings, a great soundtrack, lovable characters, and it was designed by the guys who did Final Fantasy, along with the guys who did Dragon Ball, and the guys who did Dragon Quest. No one who loves RPGs can hate that. Next on the list is Covenant of Solitude. Like Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger, Covenant of Solitude is a top-down 2D RPG. You start the game as a youth who can talk to monsters. After a horrific experience, you end up a depressed youth in jail wanting to be killed, but as these things go, fate has a different plan. This game focuses around the main character's ability to summon monsters and talk to them. There is a lot of dialogue, so people who don't like dialogue are going to get pretty frustrated, at least early on. Otherwise, the controls are nice and simple, the graphics are on par with most of the other games on this list, and is definitely worth checking out. Defender of Texel is one of the most unique RPGs on the list. It doesn't really fit into any normal styles of RPG, and plays more like a Facebook Flash game than anything. You have a finite amount of rounds that you can play before you have to stop and wait to recover. There are also in-app purchases. The gameplay is quick and simple, with most of the game being spent going on missions to kill monsters and defend the world of Texel. You fight battles with up to 9 characters, and you can choose up to 3 at a time by swiping them inside the character box. Each round you earn experience and items, which you can then use to build more troops and level up your current ones. This is definitely more for the casual gamer rather than the hardcore RPG fan, but the RPG elements are there and people seem to really enjoy it. Eve of Genesis is one of those traditional top-down 2D RPGs like your usual Final Fantasy game. You start in a small town and must immediately go help one of your lady friends who ran into a cave to find adventure. As these RPGs typically go, the adventure ends up being quite an epic one. This is definitely one of the best top-down RPGs on the list. The developers put a lot of small details into the game to make it feel more complete. You can see your swipe movements on the touchscreen, characters move their mouths when they talk, and most of the gameplay is crisp and clean. Things like that do actually matter. The storyline is pretty decent too, so if you're looking for a top-down RPG that isn't Final Fantasy or Zelda, this is one of the best alternatives. Creating a best RPG list and not having a Final Fantasy title on there somewhere is practically blasphemy. The second highest selling RPG series of all time, behind only Pokemon, has a surprisingly strong Android presence. Since Final Fantasy games typically follow the same overall theme, we've included both Final Fantasy III and Final Fantasy Dimensions together on this list. In both games, RPG enthusiasts will be treated to the original Final Fantasy experience. You'll level up your characters, wander around the world map in search of treasure and adventure, and defend the crystals from the bad guys. Many people, including ones around my age, grew up playing these kinds of games, so, if nothing else, the nostalgia alone makes these games worth owning. So if old school Final Fantasy is what you're looking for, Final Fantasy III and Final Fantasy Dimensions are the best offerings you can get. It's also noteworthy that Square Enix will be releasing Final Fantasy IV sometime during the spring of 2013. That'll be worth picking up as well. Our next app is called Zenonia 5. We're trying to cover as many RPG types as possible, and when it comes to hack and slash style RPGs where you walk around, kill bad guys, and complete quests, Zenonia 5 is at the pinnacle of its genre. This is definitely for the more casual RPG fans who don't want the tedious level grinding or the long-winded dialogues that often come with in-depth storylines. The premise is pretty simple. You create a character and then you are tossed into a world where you talk to people, accept missions, hack bad guys to bits, gain levels, and other RPG type stuff. In addition, there is a player versus player element where gamers can face one another in one-on-one battles, so there is that multiplayer aspect as well. Our next game, SoulCraft, is among the best looking titles on the list. While it won't compare to the biggest names in games on consoles, it still outshines more than 90% of the stuff you can find on Android. This hack-and-slash style RPG keeps it simple for the casual gamer without being too boring to chase away more serious enthusiasts. Unlike other hack-and-slash RPGs on this list, SoulCraft plays more like Gauntlet Legends. You move from level to level, slashing down bad guys. At the end of each level, you can use the souls and money you found to purchase upgrades. The controls are dead simple and the graphics are nice, and no levels really take that long, so if you're more into button mashing and quick level play, this is one of the best titles to try out. Last on our list is Order and Chaos Online. For you MMORPG fans out there, this is the game on the list that you've been waiting for. It features a few worlds that you can play and real-life people that you can interact with. Whether it's battling it out or working together, Order and Chaos Online is that portable MMO that you've been craving. In fact, during the testing, I had a character save my life from a wolf I was clearly too low level to be dealing with. Thank you again, random online person. It plays pretty much like any other MMORPG. There's third-person view, hack-and-slash battle system, leveling up, some character customization, and full playability with other people. So if you're looking to get into MMORPGs on Android, this is definitely the title to do it with. If you take a look at our leaderboard, you can see how all these RPGs stack up against one another. These ranks are based on their ratings in the Google Play Store, so there is no personal bias on our part. This is how the people who have played these games have rated them. We found it a little comforting that Square Enix is on this list because it shows that major game studios are starting to take Android a little more seriously, which means there are better games on the horizon for everyone. Once again, I'm Joe Hendy, the app guy from AndroidAuthority.com. If there is an RPG we missed, feel free to leave a comment below or check out our written version and leave a comment there to let us know. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel and you can find the app links and our social media links in the video description.